Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for having me over here.
You know, the last time we talked, I was in France and you were in the States. And now,
Yes, yes.
where are you right now?
I'm in Dharamsala, India, back in my home.
Yeah, and I'm in Romania, which is where I was born. Yeah, so we changed the environment. So, what is the main difference you say between the US and India and Dharamsala?
Let's say for 6 months I was in Indiana and in the Earlham College. In the Indiana Earlham College, we have lots of mother natures like trees, and also you can see some deers, some animals like that. And once when I moved to New York in the city, like you hardly see not so many trees unless and until you go to the Central Park, or you just drive up to the upper state of New York, like driving 1.5 hours like that. So back in over here in Dharamsala, we are just under the of Himalaya, and you can see the mountains, snows from the distance, and also lots of trees like that.
Yeah, I remember.
So if I take an example, wait a minute.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping us to travel near there. What
And
is the temperature now?
The tree that is over here, it's a mango tree.
Yeah.
After a few months, you will get a chance to see the mangoes. Yeah. The temperature right now, 30 something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 30 degrees Celsius.
It's nice and warm.
Yep.
Yeah, I think by now, oh, your connection is back. I think by the balcony, the connection is a little bit low, so this is why. But I'm so happy, you know, last time we talked, you were telling me something about the negative and the positive. And I found it so interesting because obviously we don't record these kind of things every day, every single week, but we do speak a lot. And I'm always finding a lot of wisdom in what you're saying. And you're talking about the difference between positive and negative, and somehow how something positive may turn negative or something negative may turn positive, isn't it?
So let's say if you take an example of a magnet. So the magnet, the positive always repel each other. Negative always repel each other. So one should be a positive, one should be a negative. So it will bring it closer. Like the same way in our daily life on the emotional basis, if the other person is very angry and you retaliate with the anger, so which means we won't become close. We will always keep a distance, right? So if the other person keeps on showing like anger, then it's your duty to show a love, compassion, and forgiveness. Then automatically the other person will become a closer to you and you'll become a friend, right? Like the same way, if we talk about in the Buddhism, though the action is important, but we give more importance on the motivation, right? So let's say if the person A and B, let's say the person A and B, and if the person A gives €5 to the beggar, that too with the wrong intention, with the wrong motivation, thinking that, oh, they will call me, I'm so generous, I'm so good, like that. And the person B, though he doesn't have any money to help or to support to the beggar, but his intention was good. Let's say like thinking, oh, feeling a kind of like rejoice. Oh, the person A gave him the money. Oh, it's so good. If I have the money, I should have also given to him like that. So normally in a sense, one time when I went to the church in America, so I was just it's a service on Sunday, and I was just going through the Bible, and it says in one of the line that the human sees, no, God sees different than the human beings. the God sees different than the human beings. The human sees the outer stature and God sees the inner. So which means the human beings, they always judge on the action, but not on the motivation. But the God, they always judge on the motivation. And also, though they judge on the action, but they give more importance on the motivation, right? So that's why what do we say is on the judgment day. Right. So over here, from the human being, the perspective, it's the Mr. A who has helped Mr. B, no, to the beggar in reality, right? It's a +5 and 0, which is greater, +5, obviously. Now, in the perspective, in the eyes of the God and the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, they seize on the motivation. Since the person A's motivation is negative, it's minus, right? The person B, the motivation is positive. So now when we see on the, not on the action, but on the motivation, which one is greater? +5, no, -5 or +0? Obviously, +0 is greater than -5, right?
It's good. And you're
Yes, and now it's very strange. Why? Because all the time when we talk about the mind, when we talk about the motivation, the people, they keep on saying it should be positive, 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 right? When they say, oh, you're so positive, we feel so happy. It talks about your motivation, right? And when someone tells you that, oh, you're so negative person, it shows like you are a pessimist, right? And you are so narrow-minded person, like that. So we don't want to hear that you are negative, right? Now, when it comes on the physical, right? And when we go to the hospital, what they say is when you are positive, then we feel sad, right? But when they say you are negative, we feel very happy. So it's a very strange. So when we talk about the physical, we always want it to be a negative. But when we think about the mental, the way of thinking, we want always to be a positive. So positive and negative comes together, right? So it keeps a healthy relationship. So if the way of thinking is negative, and even though the physical is also a negative, so what happens is like it won't keep you a healthy, though it's a healthy body, but it won't keep you a healthy mind. So like the Buddha said, healthy mind, no, healthy body comes from the healthy mind, right? And when Sujata offered a key offering to the Buddha, and what she said to him was, healthy mind comes from healthy body, right? And our body wants always to be a negative, right? And the mental wants to be always positive. And now, in return, and Siddhartha, the Buddha, what he said to her was, and healthy body comes from healthy mind. So which clearly shows the mind and the matter. The matter over here refers to the body. So the body and the mind, they are always, always, always interrelated. So if you want healthy body and healthy mind, body should be negative and mental should be positive.
And how do you manage that? Because you know what I observe, maybe you observe it as well in the States, and I don't know in Dharamsala, maybe it's a little bit different over there, but I saw that a lot of people around me, they are very affected by what is happening right now. They are quite down. They don't find something to dream about, something to look forward to. So it's quite difficult to find, this kind of positive mindset around our society right now. So what is your thought on that, and how can we help them into that? Because it doesn't feel so natural any longer, isn't it?
Normally, what do we say is think globally and act locally. So which means though we have understood so many things, but we haven't realized and put into practice, right? We talks about the impermanence, right? We talks about where there's a beginning, there's an end. Now, when it comes to the practical on the daily basis, we forget all the things that we have learned. So it's important to put into practice, right? Not only understanding, it's important to realize and to be a practical and be realistic. So which means we should be able to accept that everything is impermanence, right? And also at the same time, when we think about the impermanence, it doesn't make you, it's not saying that you should feel remorse, you should feel sad like that. So the life will go on, right? The life will go on. And what we say is most of the people, they live in the past or in the future. But living in the past, it makes oneself as the regret, depression, like that. And after the depression, it will make you to develop an anger, right, to others and as well as for yourself, like that. And thinking about the future and living in the future, it develops a anxiety. And along with the anxiety, there's an expectation. And along with the expectation, it will develop a kind of fear, right? Whether I will achieve this or not, like this. So, which means when we develop anger, as well as at the same time anxiety, we won't be able to show a mindfulness. Show a mindfulness when we are not able to show a mindfulness, we forget to enjoy, the gift of the present moment. And also we forget to appreciate and forget to pay the gratitude, right? So once we live in the present moment, it helps us to understand the reality. It's not only me, it's everywhere, right? And also at the same time, we are not saying that one shouldn't live in the future. We should live in the present only. Our life very much sustained depends on the hope, right? So we shouldn't lose the hope, right? So on the basis of hope, we are survive. We are able to live. So we are not saying that we shouldn't think about the future. Of course, we should think about the future. So that's why the Kibbunim, this one, a Jewish group. So what they say is, learn from the past and build for the future, experience the present.
And what can we say? Because I know that in the Buddhism we have a lot of discipline, right? So a lot of things that we are repeating them every single day in order to get to this kind of mindset that you're talking about. When you talk about this fact that people are so much right now looking into the past, when will it go back to normal? It was better before, before the coronavirus, because it's been over 1 year now, right? So what is the kind of things, practical things that we can do in order to go back into this, positive mindset, having this sense of hope and this sense of regretting what was happening before, being actually able to enjoy the present as it is right now, yeah?
Yes, sometimes it's very easy to say, and also it's hard to practice. So most of us, what do we do is we just do for 1 day. So what do we need is a consistency. So with the help of consistency, it will make, let's say, help you to live in a better way and also live in a better thinking. So most of us, when someone tells you that everything is impermanent, it keeps on changing, we think that yes, it's very much true. And the next day we forgot everything, right? And we complain it. So what we need is a practice. So that's why what we say, the practice makes a perfect, right? So in the Buddhism, in the Tibetan, what do we say is 9 times failures, 9 times effort, right? So in the Christianity, what do they say is rise again and again till you become a line from a lamp, right? So which means we shouldn't give up so easily, right? Everything has a time, everything. So if we have a kind of like, let's say, a free will, right, then we can change everything, right? It will go as per our own our own ideas, right? So in one of the movies of the Buddha, in the Little Buddha, when the Siddhartha was born and the sage comes to make a prophecy for him, like to the king, that in future, if he wants to become a king, he will become a king of king, and if he wants to become a monk, a teacher, he will become the greatest teacher. That's the prophecy he made, and the king says that first he has to become a king like me. And the Asita, the sage, tells him like, the goat always betrays the wishes of immortal man. God always betrays the wishes of immortal man. So if everything has to go as per our plan, then it's so good, right? So that's why I keep on telling to the students, if something goes wrong, if you're a religious minded person, just think that it's a God's will. Or if you are thinking that if you don't believe in the creator and the creation, just think that it's your karma, it's your destiny. And if you don't believe in the religion, if you believe only in the academic, just think that it's a Murphy's law. Right? If something has to go wrong, will go wrong, right? We can't change it, right? Now, but it's not the end of the world, right? So where there's a beginning, there's an end. Like the same way, suffering and the happiness. The suffering comes and goes, happiness comes and goes. So which means there is no continuation of happiness for all the time. There is no continuation of the sadness for or suffering for all the time. It comes and goes, it comes and goes. So important is accept the reality and trying to be practical and go with the flow. And it will help you to stay strong, right? So that's why we keep on saying the hope, right, is very important. So we are not saying that you shouldn't live in the future. We should also, but in the positivity.
Hoping for something better.
Yeah, like, so let's say in the modern psychology, what they use is placebo effect, right? The placebo effect, thinking that, oh, something will happen good like that. So here's a hope to live and to survive. So no matter, even if he's not getting the like best medicine, not attained by the best doctor, but still he will survive. A patient, though he's attended by the best doctors, getting the best medicine, but he has lost the hope, he won't survive. Right. So which means during this pandemic, like some people, they have like seen both the Spanish flu as well as now the pandemic or the COVID-19 and everything, Ebola and everything. So which means they have got a like the hope to survive, and they survive. And also they have a doctor, I think they have done research during the prison camp during the Second World War. That one person, he survived thinking that, oh yeah, I'll be able to see my friends, I'll be able to see my family like that. So he has got a kind of like optimistic. And rest of the others, oh, now I won't see them. No, they dies. Like the same, like this way, if we have a kind of like optimistic view and the positive thinking that, oh yeah, we can go through it, so which means we'll be able to go through it and we will survive.
It's true that, sometimes we forget about this kind of hope that is helping us going further. And, in our practice, what we say is that the future didn't happen yet. And that means that it cannot be true. And if you go into that direction, why imagining a future that is so bad, that is so dramatic, that it's not motivating for you? Because it didn't happen yet, why not imagine something that you enjoy, something that it's something for you to look forward to. You can imagine what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very much true. But let's say if we talk about the Four Noble Truth, the truth of suffering, the truth of origin of suffering, the truth of cessation, and the truth of path. So you are going through a suffering, and there should be a cause. Like without the cause, there won't be any effect. There won't be any result. So with this cause, we get the suffering. Now everyone wants a happiness, and nobody wants suffering, right? So let's say when we talk about the happiness, the let's say the temporary happiness and the permanent happiness. So if we want a happiness, we have to earn it, no matter whether it's a short-term happiness or long-term happiness. We have to earn it, right? It won't be given. So which means to earn it, we have to work on it, right? So without working on it, we won't get it. So to work on it, then becomes the truth of path, right? So then we have to think, and let's say to bear fruit on the tree, we have to give the fertilizer. We have to make sure that it's not eaten by the ants, not by the cows like that. We use the chemical fertilizer and all these things. Then in the end, it grows, right? So expecting something in the future, right? Like the same way when we do a death meditation, it's not making oneself feeling remorse and feeling sad. It's a preparation of the death. So turning the negative time into positive, right? So at the time of death, everyone fears, right? So not to develop a fear. So right from the very beginning, if you're doing a death meditation, visualizing the 8 stages of death, like when someone dies, it has to go through the 8 stages. So visualizing, okay, this is coming, that is coming, second is coming, third is coming, fourth is coming. Then accepting the reality. Then at the same time, in the end, when the death comes, you won't develop a fear, right? So using negative time, the end, into positive, right? So which means it's not making oneself as a remorse and all these things. So thinking about the impermanence and all these things, it helps to understand, and it helps to accept the reality. Otherwise, all these things, if we keep on learning, and if you don't put into practice, then it becomes academic of wisdom.
Yeah.
No, not a method, right? So it's like a 2 wings of a bird, method and the wisdom, right? So by developing a wisdom, then we should be able to put into method practices like that. Then it will give you real happiness. Otherwise, we have understood lots of things, right? And we don't put into practice and we complain. So which means he's just an academic person, not a practitioner.
Yeah, so what's the good of all this learning if it doesn't help you with a better life, isn't it? Which makes me think of something else, because it's something I wanted to discuss with you for a while now. People are suffering a lot nowadays about this social distancing, isn't it? And in social distancing, one of the issues that we have is that, we cannot touch each other. We cannot hold each other. And sometimes we feel so alone because when you go to a hard time or to an illnesses, what is giving us comfort, it's also, a hug or a presence, even if it's a friend. And I know that in Buddhist culture, we have a different approach to this kind of closeness of the body. So maybe you tell us a little bit more, how can we overcome this kind of lack of a physical approach between people, and what can be a different way to feel close to each other, even if we are far away?
So let's say, not from the Buddhism.
Messenger video.
Wait a minute. Not on the, let's say, not from the physical, the physical, but and also from the religion. If we talk about from the culture, right, cultural and tradition. So as for us, the to show respect to someone else like that, and we do the prostration, and if it's a High Lama, when they greet each other, they just touch the forehead like this, and in the New Zealand they just touch the nose like that, and also in some of the traditions, like to show a love, they hug each other. So in our tradition, like there's as far as I know, like we don't hug each other, like we just do a respect like this. And the High Lamas, if it's a High Lama, then they give you a blessing with the hands like this on your head. Like that. So normally the closeness in the Hindus as well as the Buddhists, what do we say is the physical closeness, it doesn't, they makes you close to each other, right? The more closeness should be from the heart, from the mental, right? So if you're close, like as like His Holiness the Dalai Lama always tells that from the physical outer, the stature, like from the physical expression, those smiles to each other and hug each other, but in the intention is bad, then it always keeps a doubt, right? It always keeps a doubt and keep a distance, since when there's a doubt, there's no trust. When there's no trust, and we always stays a distance. So the most important is first transparency. Transparency. If there's a transparency, then there's a kind of like understanding, right? When there's understanding, then there's no fear, right? Then you become close to each other. Like the same way from the mental, now we, as I've told you earlier, that we have to be practical and be realistic, right? In the earlier times, to show love and to show a concern, we hug each other. Now, to show a love is to keep a distance, right? So even though physically we are distant from each other, but mentally we are always thinking about the other person, right? So over here in the Buddhism, what we say is the physically, though it's important, but more important is on the mental, right? There is no kind of like a doubt, there is no fear. So automatically it brings us closer to each other. So right now, the science, what they say is don't keep a 6 foot distance, right? But it's so strange. Why? Because last time when I came from United States, and when I went to check in, what they say is keep a 6 foot distance, keep a 6 foot distance. But once you are in the plane, there's no 6 foot distance, right? The whole airplane is packed, right? So there's no 6 foot distance. So even though like everyone has brought the tests and the result of the COVID, but still you develop a fear, right? So yes, physical, the social gathering is important, but at the present moment, it's better not to have a social gathering. So in the Tibetan, what do we say is Dewa Chungla Chakbate, Chimbu Dewa Thomesi. So what does it mean is the people who got attached to a small desire of a happiness, they won't achieve the bigger happiness. So which means by thinking that, oh, what he will think, what she will think. So which means when we get close to each other, then he get the COVID, I get the COVID. So we won't get the happiness, right? The real happiness is to stay healthy, not only for oneself, the others too. So thinking that we have to meet him like that. So they were like attached to a small desire, we won't achieve the larger happiness.
Yes. And yeah, I'm so grateful for everything. I'm just watching the time. I know you have to go.
No, it's okay.
It's okay because it also
We can go for another 10 minutes.
okay, because I was worried about you having to go. And you touch on something that is really important because we used to travel a lot, isn't it? You are a traveler. I love to travel as well. And many people are suffering from not being able to travel. But as you said, traveling is not so easy nowadays, yeah? So what is like the alternative? What is something that we can do if we are, we are forced to be in, lockdown or in curfew or whatever, and we cannot travel? What can we do?
But physically, though we are not able to travel, but our mind keeps on traveling, right? Our mind keeps on traveling. And also there are like lots of things that you can improve yourself, right? So if you are lacking in something, whatever it may be, and also we can learn lots of new things, right, from the YouTube. So some of my friends, they tells me like, oh, we don't need to travel. Everything is on the Facebook. Everything is on the YouTube, right? So physically you're not traveling, but mentally you keep on traveling, right? So yeah, we have to give both equal importance on the physical as well as the mental, right? As his Holiness always tells, physical hygiene as well as mental hygiene, right? So though we are not able to travel, but we can do yogas and stretching exercise like this. As I've told you earlier, like if you get attached to a small desire for happiness, you won't achieve the ultimate or longer happiness, right? Like the same way I was there, when I was there in the United States, like I have already planned to travel over here and there in some parts of the States, and I booked the ticket, and I asked to this one customer care, and asked them, is it possible to reimburse? They said like no, like but we will. Our policy is not to reimburse, but we can like give a credit. Credit for your traveling. So like even though by thinking that I've got a credit for traveling, then if I travel, so I have to stay a quarantine 14 days over there, and when I come back in New York, I have to stay another 14 days of quarantine. So it doesn't make any sense. Right. So I just I didn't travel. So now the tickets that I have like purchased, like it's now waste. So thinking of the larger happiness, right? Thinking of the larger happiness, I just gave up the small happiness of traveling.
For some of us, it's not so small, isn't it? But I mean, I just want to come over there, but right now you told me that it's not open and there's no way for us to, even if we want to do a retreat, even if we want to meet His Holiness, it's not possible. So for now, we can just use Zoom, and at least we have the technology, isn't it?
Yes.
And we
so with with your mind, like you keep on, like you can travel, like doing a Zoom, doing a like, as for me, when I was in the States, we always used to have like a family talk once in a week, that during the weekend. So the relatives who are in Europe, relatives who are in America, relatives who are in Asia, so we all see each other's face and look, oh, I'm having a biscuit. Oh no, I'm having a tea. It looks like everything is just near.
Yeah.
Right? Like physically, it looks like everything is near. On the macro level, it looks like everything is so near, but on the micro level, technically, we are not near. But our mind is very much near to each other. So that's important. That's what it counts.
Yeah, and also, every time we talk, we share each other, location and pictures and videos, and it's also to just to see with your eyes, what we are seeing, and like the mango tree we were just sharing with us earlier. So, Okay, so maybe the best will be like we'll continue to do our discussion in the future. I know it's election day today, so we finger crossed everything goes well for you. And
Thank you.
yeah, whenever if there is something that we can do also to support the Tibetan community, you should tell us. What can we do? Because right now with all the pandemics, it's not so easy. So what is something that we can do to support your community?
Yes. Normally, the Dalai Lama always tells that the people who supports for the Tibet cause, I don't call them, or I don't consider them as a pro-Tibetan, but I consider them as a pro-justice.
It's true, yeah. It's a lot of things to say about it, and I know His Holiness is doing a lot of things, like you do a lot of things for us. So you will send me some links or something so I can add it at the end of the video. So for people who wants to support, with a donation or something, they can do so, yeah?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. I mean, it's so, I mean, for me, it's a joy every time, we are friends, but it's also, I think people are needing this kind of wisdom as well right now, because we talk about very practical things, isn't it? Things that we are facing it right now. So if there is a way, and if there is always a way, at least we can share it. So
yeah, like let's say for the common people, like who haven't studied, for them, let's say there's an excuse. Like even for us, though we are studying and also trying to be a practical and realistic. So in the debate courtyard, like we keep on debating that everything is impermanent like that. Right after the debate, we request someone else, like, Tenzin, can you do me a favor? I won't be able to make up for the dinner. Like, can you just get some food for me, like that? So in the deep in my heart, thinking that I'm not going to die, I'm permanent. Almost like 1.5 hour, few minutes back, like debating that I'm impermanent like that. So we are not putting it into practical, right? So we are thinking globally, right? But not acting locally.
Well, we are just humans, isn't it? So thank you. Have a wonderful Sunday,
Thank you, same to you.
To speak with you very soon. And thank you for being here for us. Thank you.
Thank you.